We are living in an age where information is abundant, but truth is rare. Every day we are bombarded with messages, values, and ideologies that pull us in every direction. Culture is loud. It demands that you think like it, speak like it, and behave according to its trends. And yet, in the midst of this noise, confusion reigns. People are more connected than ever, but they are also more lost than ever. It is not because they lack intelligence. It is because they lack clarity. And clarity only comes from one place, thinking from a higher realm. Kingdom thinking is not positive thinking. It is not wishful thinking. It is not religious thought wrapped in tradition. Kingdom thinking is rooted in eternal laws, unchanging, unfailing truths that do not bend under pressure or trend. While culture changes its values daily, kingdom thinking remains anchored. It does not drift. It does not conform. It transforms. It takes hold of the mind and renews it. It removes fear, doubt, and double-mindedness and replaces them with focus, peace, and purpose. The world today is a loud and restless place, filled with contradictions at every turn. One moment we are told to be ourselves. The next we are pressured to conform. Society encourages authenticity, but only if it fits within the current trend. The voices of culture are ever changing. What was once celebrated becomes condemned, and what was once rejected is now glorified. People are applauded for their uniqueness one when and cancelled for their opinions the next. The result is a generation pulled in every direction, trying to find stability in an unstable world. This noise of media, politics, opinions, trends, and shifting moral codes doesn't bring peace. It creates anxiety, insecurity, and confusion. People are overwhelmed, not because they lack information, but because they have too much of it and very little truth. In the midst of this cultural chaos, kingdom thinking stands as a quiet but powerful voice. It does not yell to compete with the noise. It speaks with calm authority, grounded in eternal principles that never change. Kingdom thinking is not reactionary. It is not emotional. It is not trendy. It is anchored in a higher reality, one that is not shaken by societal mood swings or cultural fads. It is built on a foundation that existed before the first philosopher spoke and will remain after the last ideology fades. It draws its strength not from popularity, but from timeless truth. It doesn't adjust to the times, it defines the times. When the world says truth is subjective, kingdom thinking declares that truth is absolute. When society says you can be anything you feel, kingdom thinking says you were already created with divine intent and purpose. When the culture promotes self-made success as the ultimate goal, kingdom thinking reveals that success without purpose is empty. It shifts the focus from performing for approval to living from identity. It replaces fear with faith, confusion with clarity, and doubt with direction. It gives people more than opinions. It gives them answers, real answers, the kind that do not evaporate under pressure or fall apart under scrutiny. The kind of answers that have the power to guide lives, heal wounds, and restore broken vision. This way of thinking is not limited to spiritual environments. It applies to business, education, relationships, and leadership. Kingdom thinking is not about escaping the world, it's about transforming it. It equips people to walk into a boardroom with confidence, not arrogance. It trains people to govern their emotions and manage their responsibilities with excellence. It teaches integrity over convenience, service over status, vision over vanity. It doesn't just inspire, it instructs. It's not just philosophical, it's practical. It brings wisdom that outlasts trends and insight that penetrates the noise. It brings order to chaos, not by controlling the world, but by aligning the mind. In a time where everyone is looking for someone to follow, kingdom thinking calls people to lead, not with charisma, but with character. It teaches that influence is not measured by followers, but by the fruit of one's life. It encourages people to build not for today's applause, but for tomorrow's legacy. It does not chase validation. It carries conviction. It stands when others sit, speaks when others are silent, and listens when others shout. And in a culture that is addicted to speed, kingdom thinking values process. It understands that maturity is not instant, growth is not glamorous, and purpose is not discovered in a rush. It respects the journey, embraces discipline, and walks in patience. There is something powerful about a person whose mind is anchored. When you think with kingdom clarity, your emotions stop leading your decisions. Trends stop becoming your standard. Opinions lose their control over your peace. You begin to walk with confidence, not because everything is perfect, but because your perspective is grounded in something deeper than the surface. You're no longer a slave to culture. You're a student of purpose. You don't get tossed around by popular ideas because you've already committed to eternal truth. That doesn't mean you reject the world. It means you redeem your space in it. The world does not need louder voices. It needs clearer ones. Voices that don't just echo what's already being said, but offer something different, something grounded, something that stands. Kingdom thinking is the antidote to the mental chaos that plagues this generation. It brings back the beauty of wisdom. It restores the power of principle. It awakens people to live from the inside out, not shaped by pressure, but led by purpose. In the middle of the noise, it offers a frequency from above, a frequency that cuts through the confusion and brings vision into focus. It does not seek applause. It seeks alignment. It does not conform to the crowd. It calls the crowd to rise. It doesn't just help people cope, it helps them conquer. Because when the mind is renewed with truth, the world cannot manipulate it. And when people start thinking from that place, they don't just survive the noise, they rise above it. Confusion does not appear out of nowhere. It is not simply the byproduct of having too much to process or too many options to choose from. Confusion is the internal conflict that arises when values are misaligned. When what you claim to believe is not in sync with how you live. When your internal compass is spinning, not because there's no direction, but because your definition of what matters most has been compromised. Values are the foundation of clarity. They determine how you see, how you think, how you choose, and ultimately how you live. But when values become inconsistent, borrowed from culture, or driven by fear rather than conviction, confusion is inevitable. In today's world, many chase after what is visible while neglecting what is valuable. They prioritize popularity over principle, convenience over conviction, and image of integrity. The result, an identity crisis at the soul level. People feel lost, not because there isn't a map, but because they're using the wrong one. They feel stuck, not because there's no path, but because their values have taught them to chase shadows instead of substance. They make choices driven by trends instead of timeless truth, and wonder why peace is fleeting and fulfillment always out of reach. This is where kingdom thinking steps in, not as another opinion, but as a recalibration of the mind. It is a return to original order, a shift from confusion to clarity by confronting the foundation of your values and reestablishing them on what is eternal, not emotional. Kingdom thinking teaches that clarity comes when purpose becomes the lens. It doesn't ask, what do I feel like doing? It asks, what was I created to do? It filters decisions through purpose, not pressure. It teaches that peace is not found in perfect circumstances, but in aligned priorities. It helps you to discern the difference between what's urgent and what's important, between what's popular and what's purposeful. When kingdom thinking takes root, the mind begins to untangle from the knots of cultural contradiction. You stop living in reaction to society's expectations and start walking in the rhythm of divine order. Values once distorted by fear or ambition are restored to truth, and choices become consistent with character. Decisions no longer drain you because they're no longer based on external approval. You no longer chase every opportunity that presents itself. You weigh it against purpose. You no longer entertain every voice. You listen for alignment with vision. You no longer feel the pressure to be everything for everyone. You walk confidently in the lane you were designed to fill. This mental realignment doesn't make life easier. It makes life clearer. It gives strength to your no and weight to your yes. It silences the confusion that once clouded your path and replaces it with a peace that cannot be shaken. Because when your values are aligned with truth, your path becomes steady, even if it's not easy. You may still face storms, but your direction won't change. You may still hear noise, but you won't be moved by it. You become anchored, not to your feelings, not to public opinion, but to divine purpose that transcends every temporary season. And from that place, confusion no longer has the power to control your life. Culture is loud. It's persuasive. It's relentless in its pursuit to shape people into images it deems acceptable. From the moment you open your eyes in the morning to the time you close them at night, culture whispers and sometimes screams. One message: fit in, dress like this, think like that, believe what we say, agree or be silenced. Culture does not ask for transformation. It demands conformity. It doesn't care about your potential, your originality, or your divine design. It only cares about your ability to mirror the masses, to blend in, to echo the crowd, to surrender your difference in exchange for temporary acceptance. But kingdom thinking disrupts that pattern. It does not seek conformity. It initiates transformation. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. It challenges the pressure to be molded by external influences and calls the mind to a higher standard, renewal. A mind renewed is a mind no longer manipulated. It doesn't just react to the world, it redefines it. Transformation doesn't happen because you try harder. It happens because you see clearer. You begin to interpret life differently. Pain takes on purpose. Struggles reveal strength. Delays don't mean denial. They become divine development. This kind of transformation cannot happen through imitation. It requires a breaking of old mental patterns, a confrontation of false identities, and a surrender of shallow thinking. Culture says, do what's trending. Kingdom thinking, king does. Do what's true. Culture says, protect your image. Kingdom thinking says, build your character. Culture says, you are whatever you feel. Kingdom thinking says, you are who you were created to be. One leads to confusion. The other leads to clarity. One leads you drained, performing, comparing. The other empowers you to live from a place of purpose and authenticity. Renewal is not cosmetic. It is transformational. It doesn't put a filter over dysfunction. It rewires the root. A renewed mind doesn't settle for survival. It pursues significance. It doesn't chase applause. It moves with assignment. It sees the world through a different lens, not fear but faith, not scarcity but strategy, not pressure but purpose. While culture trains people to wear masks, kingdom thinking calls people to walk in their true face, the one designed by the Creator, marked by identity and shaped by vision. And as the mind transforms, so does the life. What once looked like ordinary becomes infused with extraordinary potential. Patterns shift. Priorities align. Behavior changes not because of rules, but because of revelation. This isn't about rebellion, it's about awakening. You no longer follow the crowd, you lead in your lane. You no longer seek permission to be different. You walk boldly in your design. Transformation through a renewed mind doesn't just free you from the world's mold. It empowers you to impact the world with truth, light, and unwavering clarity. Because when the mind is renewed, the life is revolutionized. Life is full of unexpected shifts, moments that rattle emotions, challenge beliefs, and demand decisions. Most people live in reaction mode. Circumstances hit, and they respond with panic. Doors close, and they crumble. Opportunities vanish, and their identity goes with it. Their stability is based on how smooth the road is. Their mood rises and falls with the tides of daily events. But kingdom thinkers operate from a different realm. They are not tossed by the winds of the moment because they are anchored in something unshakable. They don't react, they respond. There's a difference. Reaction is emotional. Response is intentional. Reaction is instant. Response is rooted in insight, not impulse. A kingdom thinker understands that storms don't define direction. They reveal depth. So when chaos hits, they don't collapse. They pause. They listen. They assess not just what's happening around them, but what's trying to happen within them. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what wisdom can I extract from this? Their perspective is shaped not by fear, but by vision. They understand that every situation, whether painful or promising, is an opportunity to align more deeply with purpose. This kind of mindset is rare because it requires discipline. Anyone can react. It takes maturity to respond. The world is full of noise, opinions, deadlines, and digital fires to put out, but kingdom thinkers carry a calm center. Not because they're naive, but because they see the bigger picture. They understand that what's urgent is not always what's important. They don't allow circumstances to dictate their character. Instead, they operate from a well of wisdom that's been cultivated in stillness, reflection, and spiritual clarity. When everyone else is rushing, they remain steady. When others retaliate out of anger, they act with purpose. When doors close, they discern whether it's a setback or a redirection. Their movements are not just to the environment, they are expressions of vision. They don't waste energy fighting what doesn't align with their assignment. They don't chase every opportunity, they measure it against purpose. That's why kingdom thinkers may appear slow to speak or act, but when they move, it's with precision. They know when to be silent and when to speak with authority, when to stand still and when to take strategic action. Their power is not in how loud they are, but in how clear they are. They walk into rooms not needing attention because they already carry intention. And that intention, rooted in vision and guided by divine purpose, becomes their compass through every season. While others drift through confusion, kingdom thinkers build with clarity. While others echo culture, kingdom thinkers declare truth. They are not moved by circumstances because they've already been moved by conviction. And that is why their lives bear fruit that remains. Chaos is an inevitable part of life. It's the noise in the background of our thoughts, the turmoil in the world around us, and the constant shifting of circumstances that seem beyond our control. The world is never short of confusion, contradiction, or crisis. Yet in the middle of this chaos, there is an opportunity, an invitation to a higher way of thinking, leading, and living. While many are overwhelmed, kingdom thinking stands as a beacon of clarity. It does not promise an absence of storms, but it guarantees peace in the midst of them. Kingdom thinking isn't just about surviving chaos, it's about thriving in it. While others become entangled in the noise, kingdom thinkers remain grounded. They carry with them an inner peace that comes from a source beyond their understanding. That peace doesn't depend on their circumstances. It is anchored in their identity and divine purpose. They are not controlled by the swirling winds of uncertainty. They are guided by an inner compass that remains steadfast. When everyone else is running in circles, kingdom thinkers are calmly walking in the direction of their vision. But leadership doesn't just mean having peace. It means leading others toward it. Kingdom thinkers, equipped with wisdom and clarity, step into the confusion, not to add to the noise, but to bring order. They provide direction when others are lost, hope when despair has the loudest voice, and light when darkness seems overwhelming. Their leadership isn't defined by titles or positions. It's defined by the courage to live out their convictions, no matter the chaos around them. They lead with the understanding that true leadership isn't about controlling people, it's about influencing them to rise above their circumstances and walk in truth. This is where kingdom thinking becomes revolutionary. In a world that's constantly fluctuating between trends, opinions, and distractions. Kingdom thinkers offer stability, while others are enslaved by the desire for power, popularity, and possessions. Kingdom thinkers are rooted in a higher calling. They see beyond the immediate and focus on the eternal. They know that the true measure of success is not found in external accolades, but in internal alignment with truth and purpose. In the midst of chaos, kingdom thinkers offer more than just a place to hide from the storm. They offer direction through the storm. They offer leadership that doesn't crumble under pressure. They offer peace that transcends understanding. And most importantly, they offer a truth that remains unshaken, even when the world around them is falling apart, while others are trying to find their way through the maze of confusion. Kingdom thinkers walk a clear path, leading others with them toward purpose, clarity, and ultimate freedom. In the midst of a world rife with confusion, distraction, and chaos, kingdom thinking provides a foundation that is unshakable and enduring. It shifts the focus from reacting to circumstances to responding with wisdom, vision, and purpose. It transforms how we see and navigate the world, guiding us to lead not by the world's standards, but by divine principles that transcend temporary challenges. Kingdom thinking doesn't just offer survival in chaos, it offers the potential to thrive amidst it. It empowers us to lead with clarity, act with integrity, and stand firm in peace. As we embrace this way of thinking, we stop being driven by the noise of the world and begin to live by a higher calling. We start to respond to life's trials, not out of fear or frustration, but with the wisdom and calm assurance that comes from knowing our true identity and purpose. Kingdom thinking offers us more than just answers. It offers us a new way of being, a new way of leading, and a new way of living. And when we live according to this higher standard, we become a light to others, guiding them towards the same peace, direction, and truth that we ourselves have found.